Hi, gang. It's good to see you. I made it. I was typing my fingers up to the bone till the very last minute, just trying to get images and everything together to have a little informative, let's get back together and start color blocks off video today. So please make yourself a cup of tea, make yourself comfortable, and leave a comment whenever you're here. So I know that comments are working. I'm broadcasting across Facebook and my business Facebook inside a Facebook group as well as on YouTube. So not all the comments always come through. Hopefully somebody's will come through. There's some interesting interesting connections between all the social media. Sandal, I see you this week. Hi, I'm so glad you're here. Karen, hi. I hope you're staying warm on this very gross day. Um, I live just north of New York City, about 70 miles, and we had some snow this weekend. It was our first big snow in 2 years. So we had about 8 inches of snow, and that was Saturday night to Sunday morning. That meant canceling church services. I do some work for my church. Um, and otherwise, it meant just laying around and not doing a lot of anything. And now we're getting rain. I was out earlier today at physical therapy, and it was raining in town and snowing at my house. So who knows what will happen? I live on a mountain, and the mountain makes its own weather. Let's see. I see hello in Kissimmee, Florida. And hi, Sherry. I'm glad you guys are here and that the comments are working. Right before the snow, I was teaching in a quilt shop called So Inspired in Simsbury, Connecticut. They have a machine quilting club that is for home machine quilters, for stationary machine quilters, and long arm quilters. And I think it meets on the first Saturday of the month. So, if you live in the area, definitely get in touch with So Inspired. There's such an eye candy shop and a beautiful classroom, very big classroom. So I'm really happy to have been there. And I was only teaching in the morning. Everyone was so helpful. My husband packed my car for me because I have two herniated discs, and got injured again last week. So ick. And then when I got there, folks unloaded my car for me. So it was great. And we talked about machine quilting with stencils. I will be teaching there again the first Saturday in February, which I believe is the 3rd. And in the morning, I'll be teaching at their long arm club again. And in the afternoon, I will be teaching home machine quilting on hands-on. So that'll be coming up in the next month. In between then, I think I'll be speaking at the Hudson Valley Modern Quilt Guild in Garrison, New York on a Sunday. Let me go back to the comments. Madeline, hello. And hello in Louisiana. Janet, you're missing that Janet moved from not far from me in New York, but she's getting big, big rain. We're supposed to get flooding because it's supposed to be a lot of rain. Plus, we have a lot of snow. Plus, the ground is frozen. So, who knows if we're flooding or not? But weather. That's another reason to stay indoors and quilt, usually with a nice cup of tea. This is a new teacup I bought myself. I forget who it's from, maybe the Tea Spot, but it has a little divot here to put your teacup string in, and it comes with its own strainer and its own saucer, which can be a lid. And then, and this is my current teacup for at home. And indoors, inside the cup is an Adagio chai. Adagio is the brand, chai is the tea that last year a dear friend of mine gave me an advent calendar, and I checked out their chai. And then I had to just go buy a great big bag of loose leaves. So that's my comfort on the icky days. Let's see. Few new things going on. I want to talk to you about color blocks because some of you might be new. I'm starting all over again since I had a lot of illness last year. Uh, Color blocks is something I came up with during the pandemic because I needed to stop looking at the news all the time. So I started sewing all of my scraps into 16 patches, and I used all the same colors in them. So I called them color blocks. It was a working title, but I never came up with a better one. So there's still color blocks. So I cut all of my scraps into 2.5-inch squares. I've also and then I make quilts out of them. Um, right now I'm making gray ones. This is what's on my leader and ender table right now. I have a little rolling table that sits next to my sewing machine, and I have 16 piles of different grays, and I use them as my leader and ender project. Um, so starting in 2021, I did a year worth of color blocks, 12 quilts. 2022, a year worth of color blocks, 12 more quilts. 2023, I was sick for most of the year, so there's maybe 4 patterns in there. And I'm starting it again this year with optimism that I'll be able to get it done and not have major medical issues that I'm still trying to clear up, because having COVID for 4 months is just the gift that keeps on giving. But this is what I do. All of my scraps are cut into 2.5-inch strips, 2.5-inch squares, and then what's smaller than that goes into 1.5-inch squares. And I'll show you what I've done with that later. So I want to pull up let me pull up something here. Color blocks. Okay, and let me share that with you. Share screen, window, this one, share. Okay, this is a color block from 2021, a pattern from 2021. I made this quilt last year for a friend's grandbaby, and it's so sweet. I think he's about 6, 8 months old now, and I get to see his pictures on YouTube. I'm sorry, what is that? Facebook, and then I get to see them on his quilt. I love that the quilts get used, get laundered. They'll get replaced if they need to. But this one was called Monkey Wrench, I think. And what I want to show you is that I didn't use just squares. These can be cut into triangles as well. Now, the joy of the color block is that the color blocks don't touch each other. I've always put a sashing in between, either an inch, usually an inch, but sometimes the quilt has an offset block or has a larger sashing or whatever. But I don't ever touch those together because I don't want to match the seams. So I have squares here, sashing in between. And it just makes it easier for me to sew it together. And if my squares aren't perfect, it matters less because I don't have to worry about how I'm pressing it. Then above it here, I have a triangle. Now that triangle is not cut in half. You can see it has a straight part on the top and on the side. And that's because if I cut it directly in half, I have to match the seams. And I don't do that. So what I do, I'm going to stop sharing and come back and see you. Hi. So when I have a big square like this is an 8-inch square. I cut a 7-inch square and put it on top of it. And then I use my Color Blocks right triangle tool. You can simply draw a line on the 7-inch square, sew on the line, and then trim it off. But I have this. When I layer them up together, I trim it off, and then I sew it. And it turns into one of those triangle blocks. Now, let me show you. So those are really useful and also low stress. Are you getting this is a stress-free project when life is stressy? When hasn't life been stressy for the last long time? I think the last time I haven't had stress was, well, it wasn't in this millennium for sure, but it was definitely before before COVID hit. Let's see, Cheryl and Missy are here. Hi guys, I'm glad you're here. So I'm going to share the screen again and show you another picture. Where's the picture? Hold on. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll find it. Okay, now I'll share it. Window. Here we go. Share. So this quilt is made with the leftovers that happened whenever I cut that triangle off. So I have that triangle block that goes into my Color Blocks quilt, and then I have like a 5.5-inch square left over that has a little bit of the 9 patch in it. It it looks like half of a 9 patch, but it's not really. I square that off and I sew that into a quilt. This became a dorm quilt for my cousin's kid who went to college this year. These are his school colors. He's a ball player. Um, and then I had fun quilting this with stencils, like I was talking about when I talked about them this weekend at Sew Inspired. So I used a spiral stencil in here, quilted a spiral right in the middle of the yellow block, and then and then dragged my thread down. So stitch, 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 stitched another spiral, stitch, stitch, stitch. So I stitched it in long columns, and I stitched another long column of that in my borders. So it's kind of like a free quilt, and then I just hit it as with an offset yellow block there, and it worked really well. Let's see. Sandal, you say color blocks make such great quilts, and they make great gift quilts too. They're good for giving away. What's really nice is they're super fast once you have the squares made. Behind me is another color block. I think that was from 2022. It's called Grandma's Album. So once you have a pile of color blocks, you can just go through and see which ones what you have enough for, what quilt you want to make. And the fun thing, since I'm a machine quilting teacher, and that is uh, my number one job, is on all of the quilts, I have a machine quilting video showing you how I machine quilted it on a home sewing machine. You can easily translate it to a long arm for everything except the walking foot designs, because there's no walking foot on a long arm. So this is made for home sewing machines. I do also quilt for long arms. I've quilted much longer on long arm than on a home machine, but all my videos are on the home machine. And if you want to know why, I can tell you. A home machine doesn't move. A long arm machine moves, and it's harder to to have a camera shooting on a moving target, because I can attach the camera to the machine head, but it gets some vibration on it. Otherwise, I just have a tripod set up with a camera on it, aimed at my machine while I'm quilting, and it all works well. So that's color blocks. Let me show you the color blocks I have for you for this month. I believe the link is in the description of the class, in the description of this video, sorry, and that will take you there. It's free for you to sign up. If eventually I decide to have it be a paid class, if you signed up while it's free, it will always be free, so it's yours. This is called Let It Snow, which apparently worked because we have 8 inches outside. I think, let's see, I have a child in Albany and a child near Hartford. My Albany child got about 6 inches and my Hartford child got about 9. So the Northeast got pretty much blanketed by snow. This is this month's, and it uses both the solid 16 patch as well as the triangles. And the triangles, there's only 8 of, and I usually sew 6 of those leftover blocks into a placemats, but that only makes 1 placemat. I took a larger quilt and made a whole set of placemats for my mother-in-law. This one, I might just make 1 placemat and give it to my mom. So this is this month's quilt, and eventually I will have a video up of how to machine quilt it. What are your thoughts of machine quilting on this? I was thinking of free motion, snowflakes, and swirls, but it's killing me that square I see in the middle. Just right inside the triangles, it makes a square. So I don't know what I'm going to have to do with that. It's kind of, I want to put ribbon candy in there. I mean, I want to put ribbon candy everywhere, but I want to put ribbon candy in that big 1-inch square outline of that middle 9 patch of the quilt. So I'm going to stop sharing and come back and see if anybody had any ideas of how they might want to quilt that. And again, year 1, 2021 of color blocks, I did a snowball quilt, and it has straight lines and snowflakes in it. So I may take those snowflakes and put a fun swirl with it and do something just a little bit different. So I have that going on. I also have boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes. Let me see if I can find one. No, I don't have one within reach. And boxes of 2.5-inch squares stacked. I probably have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have at least 5 boxes of color blocks. And by boxes, I mean a boot box, a man's boot box. So who knows how many that is. Oh, Cynthia, it's so good to see you. I would love for you to get back to your color block quilts because I think you made every one in the first year, back in 2021. So I would love to see what you have to do with my new quilts. And Sandal is talking about the machine quilting. White thread with snowflakes and swirls would be my pick. The white thread for snow. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe not white, but maybe white because my quilt has very beige and very beigey yellow blocks. Let me share that again. So I'm wondering what white would look like on there. In a perfect world, I would have used a more solid background because I loved this background. It's actually dandelion tops, but it looked very snowflakey, the quilt background. But I don't know what the white would do. White could work, but I also have a thread color called lamb that is a cream, a very light taupe, and a very light gray mixed together. And that would also look good on here. So I'll see about between the white and the gray. I mean, the white and the lamb. The white could look good because it could stand out from both. Let me think. I may get to base this up and start quilting in the next day or two. Let's see. Cynthia, I love you too. It's good to see you back. So that is color blocks. Again, you can join it. You do have to sign in to the class. And the reason I do that is I have the platform. It's on Teachable, and it holds all the videos and all the content. And it's how I get my patterns out. If I make these excuse me, I have the hiccups from tea. It's free downloadable content, but downloadable content has weird tax implications in other countries. So I work through Teachable, and they handle my paid classes and my free classes and the international tax nonsense that goes with it. But if you have any trouble logging into Teachable or finding your materials, let me know. I can help you with that. Now, speaking of a paid class, I have a subscription, and my subscribers have been wonderful since I was sick again at the end of last year. I had some heart problems after COVID that didn't show up right away. So I have like 6 to 8 awake hours a day on a good day. And I was a little behind on posting things. I have a great heart specialist who is working and thinking they can get everything working again at some point in the next year, maybe 6 months to a year. So maybe I'll be awake longer. But I do have new content in As the Bobbin Turns, which is my subscriber platform. And what that usually is 1 to 2 videos a month that are just for you. And this is what I just put up. Let me find the window. Where'd the picture go? Okay, where is it? Here it is. And I will share it with you. So actually, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to start again to make sure I had the right picture. I never trust things. Okay, this is a quilt I made with thousands and thousands of 1.5 inch squares that I cut whenever I have too little fabric left to make a 2.5 inch square. And so all of these squares were sewn together individually. And I want to say it was like 2,346 1.5 inch squares. Now I also have a big boot box full of those 1.5 inch squares. And after making this quilt, doesn't look like I took a single one out of there. It's so sad. But this was a really fun quilt for me to work on ribbon candy. It was quilted. I had so much fun quilting it. I pieced it just so I could quilt it. And because sometimes you need to piece together 2,300 and some, or 2,400 and some, I forget how many are in there. Can we round it to 2,500? So 2,500 pieces of fabric just to make a 72 inch quilt, or what's this? 1, 2, 3. I think it's a 70 inch quilt, 70 by 70. But it's really snuggly and really fun. Let me show you a close up of it. Oh, Janet, you love the tiny squares quilt. You've made 3 quilts with them and working on another one. And you made a 10-4 quilt with them too. I've actually seen some of your other quilts with this. Yeah, it's addictive to use these teeny tiny little pieces that only take about 10 stitches to hold them together. Kind of addictive. Sandal, you have a bunch of 1.5-inch squares. Will I be sharing the pattern? Yeah, I can write the pattern and put it right in that. Right in the As the Bobbin Turn class. So I'll look for that in the next little while, and I'll just write up the pattern just to tell you how much background to buy, and how to piece it. There's not much to piecing it. I mean, you can look at it and pretty much figure it out. But I will write that up for you. Let me see where the next photo is. I should put these together in a software like PowerPoint, but I didn't. So this is a close-up of the quiltings, just a random 4 blocks. So I did free motion, continuous curve in the center squares. I also did free motion stitch in the ditch in the center squares, because I wanted the quilt to puff up where it wasn't quilted. And it would have puffed up in a weird way if it puffed to the curve rather than to the end of the fabric. So you can see I put every color in here. Icky brown, green, gray, blue, hot pink, bright orange, just absolutely everything went in here except white because that was the background. I even put some creams in here. I did ribbon candy in all of the rounds of background fabric, and then I didn't do any quilting at all in the pieced fabric. And it was just so much fun. It was a lot of knots, but it was really fun to sit at a machine and just do ribbon candy merrily as I went along. So let's see. Janet, the more color, the better. Yes. I actually know people that don't like super scrappy quilts because they say they look muddy. And I don't think that quilt looked very muddy being every color. Um, I liked it that way. And that's what's cool about quilting. I know the shop owner over at So Inspired was talking on Saturday, just mentioning that her comfort zone is working with batiks. That's my least comfort zone. I'm not a big batik person. Now, there's probably some in there, but not a lot because I don't buy a lot of batik fabric. Sandal says, my quilt is very cheerful. Well, I was cheered while making it, so I hope that shows in the quilt. Um, what I think is really cool about quilting is that somebody can use batiks in theirs. I have all colors in scraps going in there. But if I have more bright colored fabrics, I'll have more bright scraps. If I use more pastel fabrics, I'll have more pastel scraps. So it really is reflective of what I work with, which is everything. I did have the last year, anytime I go to visit my mom, my sister lives near my mom, and when she leaves town, I go to my mom's and keep my mom company. My sister lives very close to my mom, like same street, and I stay at my sister's house, and her kitchen table turns into my sewing room. But I don't take a sewing machine. I just take a cutting board, my scrap fabric, fresh rotary cutter and blades and a ruler, and I cut all my fabric up into pieces. And I got all of my scraps cut last year, like all of them. I now have only one boot size box that has some fabric in it that needs to be cut up. So the next time I go to my sister's house, I'll cut those up, which has been fun. It's really nice not to have bags and bags and bags of scraps. Her garbage can had seen fabric, which is my sister doesn't sew at all. So she hadn't seen that. And I think a 1.5-inch strip fell behind her table and she left it out for me the next time I came. I'm like, you didn't want my gift? Let's see some comments here. So Janet says, the more color, the better. I absolutely agree. Do you tie off the 1.5-inch pieces? You did a bargello that's unstitching itself. No. Do I tie off the 1.5-inch pieces? Yes and no. I chain piece everything. So they're all stitched off, and that hasn't been a problem. And I'm so sorry about your Bargello quilt. That's sad. Let's see. Um, Mary, I'm a very says I'm a very cheerful person despite of your health challenges. Um, well, thank you. And I do have health challenges. I have. I'm not moving well today. This right now, this season of life, my I don't have enough oxygen because my heart's not working right and my back is a bit of a mess. So I'm not moving a lot and I'm sleeping a lot. But during the times that I'm awake, I want to make them count. So I do the stuff that's fun for me. And I actually keep a list of things I want to do. And I try to check one off every week, whether it's just inviting people for dinner or seeing my grandkids or going to pet baby animals. Um, and teaching quilting is one of them. Now, I will not be flying around the country doing a lot of teaching, but I will be teaching in the Northeast, like Pennsylvania, maybe over to Ohio, Maryland, um, Virginia, New Jersey, New York, and all of New England is within a driving distance of me. So I'll be able to get out and around. Let's see. Krista said her scrap quilts would be orange, gray, black, white, and maybe lime green. I can see that. I just love I love scraps because I paid for that fabric and it's still what's fabric up to now? $12, $14 a yard. I'm going to use every bit of it and it's going to look like me. And then I get to give the quilts away. I have a bag of quilts that I just take to church whenever I get a bunch and pass them out and can make someone's day. So Sandal has a tip for us. Shortening your stitch length helps decrease the unstitching. Thank you, Sandal. That's really good. I sew at about a 2 millimeter stitch length pretty much all the time, but maybe when I do the scraps, I'll do the tiny piecing. I will shorten the stitch length. I have a mechanical machine, just like a high-speed straight stitch, sew as fast as you can machine, and it just has a little clicky dial for the millimeters. So maybe I'll turn it to a little less than 2 millimeters. So those are some of the things I have going on currently, but I want to talk to you about something else. Um, I took one airline trip in the last 4 years, and I went and flew to Wisconsin to Lisa Bonjean's studio at Primitive Gatherings for a week-long retreat. It was something she had going on last year while I was in the hospital, and I was watching it and going, if I get better, I'm going to do this. So I booked it, and I knew it would be inconvenient because it's 2 hours north of Milwaukee. So I'm not driving it from home. That means I have to fly it. And she's 2 hours away from Milwaukee, so I got to rent a car. And it was wonderful. You can also fly to Green Bay, or if you're there, you can drive. You can also fly to her local town. I think Appleton has an airport, but that's going to be like plane hopping. So I chose a direct flight and a rental car over plane hopping and a shuttle. But I want to show you the quilt that I made while I was there. Let me open that up. Let's see. Where's my pictures? There it is. Let me share this with you. So we had 3 projects while we were there. And one of them was an ornament that was ho, ho, ho. It was just lovely. I finished the whole quilt top while I was there, but it still folded exactly where it was whenever I came home, December 9th. So it definitely was not for this Christmas. Oh, look, if you look in the picture on the right, you can see the iron. That's the same iron I bought, and I bought it on Amazon, and it went down $39 since I bought it. So this is a great time to buy it. Yeah, I did the whole return and buy the new one thing. Yes, I got before you make a comment. So I got the money off. So I'm trying to figure out how to quilt this. And I think I want to stencil circles all over this and do lines of circle quilting. That would be like Christmas ornaments. Because I want to quilt it simply, just white thread and quilt all over it. Does that give you any ideas of how to quilt it? The other thing I thought of was maybe bubble quilting all over it, like clouds to look like Santa's beard, since it's ho ho ho. Let's see. Let me see. We have another tip here from Janet. When you finish a quilt top, stay stitched around the edge to help the unstitching on the top. Most definitely, especially a quilt that doesn't have a border. Like the quilt behind me, there's only 4 seams, so it's that seam here, that seam there, and then the matching seams on the bottom borders that are out in the edges. And I do actually back and forth those when it's a border. But like on the quilt, my committed quilt, because you have to be committed to make it, or you should be committed if you want to make it. You have to stay stitched around the edge because there's all those tiny little seams everywhere. Great. Great. Thank you. Let's see. Krista. Love it. And oops. Mary. You saw some of the videos and in a picture, and you were looking for the owner of Mount Creek Quilt Shop. Oh, I did see her. She was sitting on the other side of the room from me. It was really fun. Yes, Lisa Bonjean does a Facebook Live, and I was very quiet when I was there because it was a lot of people. It was very overwhelming to be around people 24 hours a day, 7 days, when I haven't really been out around people. So I was getting kind of quiet. So she might not remember me, but I was there and I had so much fun. It was really a well done retreat. So just wanted to share that with people because they've been asking. So my pictures, I had my picture in some of Lisa Bonjean's social media, and then I was on her Facebook Live video as well. So I really was there. But that's what I have going on. Still basking in the glow of having done such a bucket list item to go to that retreat. It was a little spendy, but I had it and I wanted to go, and I'm glad I did. When I got there, I nearly cried, and I texted my husband, "This is 1,000 times better than I expected." And he said, "You expected it to be good?" I'm like, "I know." It was really good. So now that I'm home and quilting, I will normally be coming live on Wednesdays, but I have a back procedure on my spine tomorrow afternoon, so I won't be home. It's just like injecting some stuff into my nerves. I know it sounds gross and it hurts, but it does help a little bit. So we're still trying. Patty, you are never late. You are right on time, and I'm glad you're here. I am going to be ending soon, but you can go back. And watch the video. These are archived on Facebook and on YouTube. So Sandal, you said it was nice that I gave that gift to myself. It was, but I think it was a gift to my husband too, because I left him all alone for like 8 or 9 days. And whenever I only called him a couple times, and every time I called, I was like, "Did you eat at Taco Bell today?" And he did, because we eat every meal at home otherwise. He takes care of me a lot, but he got to eat junk food and do while the cat's away type of stuff. Let's see. This is Lois Ann. I think this is your Bargello quilt. Your Labrador Retriever jumps on the bed, and you did use small stitches, but chain pieced and snipped. The magic ribbon candy didn't sew it down enough to get the seam ends. Did the nerve block on time, takes 6 months, but then it feels great. This is my 3rd time. I'm not doing the nerve block because I actually can't walk on my left leg. I don't have any strength in my left leg. So I'm very careful in the house. I can kind of limp around and grab things, but out in public, I have to use my cane or a walker because otherwise I'll hit my nose on the ground. So they can do a block for the pain, but they're really trying to get the pressure off the nerve so that I have strength in my leg and don't have to crawl up the stairs anymore. Anyway, that's kind of boring stuff. But I hope you're able to get your Bargello quilt refastened. And losing a quilt to a Labrador it's a good way to lose a quilt. I don't have a Labrador jumping on my bed, and that makes me sad. And I do have to text my sister to find out whenever I go to visit mom. I also get to dog sit for my sister, so it's my dog Oreo, not just her dog Oreo. And I think she also likes that I love the dog because it makes her feel better um, leaving me with her. Not that I'm like, I really do enjoy taking a dog. So I'm going to finish my cup of tea. I keep threatening to get out a newsletter. That might happen. Write a pattern. That might happen. And then I have a few other things, other details I have to do for other in-person quilting things I'm doing. So stay tuned. I hope to give you put on the bottom of my newsletter again where I'll be teaching, and maybe I'll see some of you in person this year. But thanks, you guys are truly the best. That not one person, not one single person complained that I wasn't getting content out while I've been sick. And do you know how rare that is? Um, like really, really, even in the quilt industry where you think people are nicer than the average, which they are, there's still some griping. So you guys are wonderful. Thank you for being you. And I'm going to go have my great day. You have a great day yourselves. And let me check my calendar before I end off just to make sure I'm not lying. Yes, I will be here next on Wednesday. Let me come back to you. Next Wednesday afternoon at 2:30 New York time. Happy quilting, everyone, and take care of yourselves. Oh, Kimberly Imo got in as I was pressing the end stream button. Hi, Kimberly. How are you? You got an extra little bit. Hold on. I don't know if this looks familiar to you, Kimberly. Do you know? Does anyone know what this is? This is Kimberly's new fabric line. I'm so excited. I got all of it. And it is sitting here right behind me because I need to mail it out. I haven't mailed out some Christmas presents yet. And if any friends are watching, don't tell yourselves, but this might be what you're getting. So Kimberly Einmo, this is Ben Artex fabric. Ask your quilt shop to get it in because Kimberly Einmo, let me find it. Is this going to be one of them? Lived in Australia for a bit. So I forget the fabric line name. You can type it in. Oh, it should be here. Kimberly Einmo. I mean, even the selvage is pretty. Rouville. So these are, I would guess these are Aboriginal inspired designs here. And I've got, let me find where the kangaroo fabric is. Is that it? No. Aren't you enjoying looking at the back of my head? And grab out the kangaroo fabric. I think this is it. Oh, parrot feathers. Thank you. So here's the parrots. And there's kangaroos in here too. So I had to have it, and I had to have it all. So yeah, I saw you just as you were getting on. So everybody has to go and get this fabric because I don't buy a lot of fabric. I do a lot of scrap quilts, but I had to have this. I mean, look at that. And the super bright colors and the textures. It's fabulous. It's lovely. So ask your quilt shop to get Rouville from Ben Artex. And I had to do it. Okay, now I'm really leaving. I love you, Kimberly. Bye, honey. Take care, everybody. Bye.